Hey guys, this is Alex.
And this is Drew.
And today on the Two Man Comic Book Club podcast, we're taking a look at Vision number 2 by Tom King, Gabriel Hernandez Walta, and Jordie Bellaire. Let's go. Okay, so let's just paint a picture for those watching and listening. Every time we're about to start this podcast, I habitually ask, all right, are you guys ready? Signaling that I'm ready to do the intro. And Drew, without missing a beat every time, and somehow this still catches me off guard. He says, I was born ready. And then we giggle like little girls for a second and then we start. But I guess you haven't always done that. Maybe the last...
I think it's just ever since the cameras entered the picture.
Yeah, so 7-ish episodes or so. But ever since he's done that, more often than not, we butcher the intro at least once.
Yeah.
So
it's like I jinx it.
Yeah. Whether it's giggles for no reason at all sometimes, but it just be like that sometimes.
And I was the first attempt at starting this episode, he made a comment about how that has been cut out. You didn't get to hear it. Made a comment about how I was all hopped up on sugar because for whatever reason I decided to eat a peppermint brownie sundae this morning before we got started at like 11:20 in the morning. So I was just laughing at that whenever he gave the intro.
Yeah.
Just thinking, I'm 35 years old and I had a brownie sundae. Well, it wasn't. It was for brunch, really, maybe lunch.
Even better. Yeah. How was it?
It was delicious.
Yeah.
It was from Brahms, in case anybody's curious.
It did look good. I just to give more information on how our day started. We set up and then I hadn't eaten anything yet, so we went to go get some brunch, and I chased around breakfast food all over town and sadly ended up at Sonic. Well, it was fine, but
it was fine.
The first
they forgot his
options.
picante sauce.
Yeah, my breakfast burrito, no picante. Mm-hmm. Wasn't it?
Yeah,
but it was fine. First world problems, right?
Yeah.
What have you guys been up to? Nothing.
Been rewatching Breaking Bad after watching everything that was available of Better Call Saul on Netflix. That's about it.
Have not seen any Better Call Saul, but I loved Breaking Bad.
I actually got to the episode last night where Saul made his entrance on Breaking Bad. So the episode was called Better Call Saul, and I was like, haha, yeah. It's really interesting to see. He was still, like, he hadn't become that character. And the prequel episodes, like literally the last one was where he was like saying, hey, I'm going to start doing business as Saul Goodman. So it's just, he still has some steps to go through before he becomes the guy that I saw last night on Breaking Bad. But yeah, good shows. You should check them out if you haven't seen them, though. I mean, they are gritty.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of illicit substances and whatnot, but it's a good show.
They earn their R rating, as we like to say.
Yeah.
I feel like it's our little filter we put on for some of our... Sorry, Grogu. For the people that don't want to listen or watch to those sorts of things.
Yeah.
You been reading any comics? What you been reading, yo?
The only thing I've been reading other than Vision has been Watchmen. So.
Oh, like the graphic novel?
The graphic novel. I watched the movie a billion years ago, and I have the movie, but I think I mentioned recently that I read The Button, which is like a mini series where Batman and the Flash are like trying to figure out what the source of that button from Watchmen is. And I was just like, actually, I think I need to go back to the beginning. So I read the first couple episodes, issues that are available on Comixology. For whatever reason, they're not on DC Universe. Like Watchmen is not on that.
That's weird.
But Amazon was running a Black Friday special the other day, and I got the entire like digital Kindle version of Watchmen for like $3.
Nice.
It was like marked down from 25. I almost passed that on to you guys, like, hey, check this out, but I forgot. So I'm a bad friend.
Yeah.
So I'm probably about halfway through the Watchmen graphic novel, and
thoughts so far?
It's a lot different. Like there's certain elements I'm like, wow, they just completely cut this part out of the movie, and I'm honestly, some of those parts I'm like, how is this relevant? Like. Where's the payoff for this side layer gonna go?
Right.
So, and I keep going back to you guys made a comment in the recent episode where I think Torrance, you said the ending was totally different between the two, like the movie and all I remember or all I've ever seen is the movie, And I don't even remember how that ends.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So I'm just like, okay, so how is it going to end differently? And I'm starting to play it out like, I don't want to say anything about it in case anybody out there is behind the times like me and just not reading them. But yeah, that's what I've been reading. And because I think when I finish that, I'm going to go through all the before Watchmen titles and then read the actual Road to the Doomsday Clock event.
Right.
And just try to treat that whole thing.
Yeah, it seems like a really cool book. Actually, I think this is relevant. So Rorschach.
Yeah.
I have not read the graphic novel, by the way, so I don't know exactly how all that plays out. But Rorschach just had, or is about to have, or is this week maybe even, a #1 for DC. Rorschach #1.
Cool.
And it is written by Tom King.
Okay.
Who is the writer of this Vision series that we are doing it.
It's a small world after. I'm not going to finish that because I don't want to get sued.
Just in case I'm wrong, will you check me on that? I'm 99% sure that Tom King is writing Rorschach #1. But I follow him on Twitter, so I think I've been seeing him kind of promoting it. I want to read it just because I'm now intrigued by all this awesome Tom King stuff. He also, I think, recently did a Batman run for DC. Also could be a lie. I'm making stuff up today.
It is, yeah.
Rorschach #1, Tom King? Mm-hmm. Cool. Did he also do a Batman run? I'm just curious. I think it was also this year, early this year, or maybe late last year. Or maybe he's doing Batman and Catwoman now.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's Batman and Catwoman.
Okay, that's also coming out then. So he just was handed. So Tom King wrote Vision 5 years ago and now is getting all these sweet titles. Not that he didn't have them before. Yeah. We'll get on more of Vision stuff in a little bit. Been reading anything else?
Twitter.
I read Twitter some as well.
I think that's it. Watchmen and Twitter and Vision.
Yeah. Cool.
How about you?
More Iron Man. Still working on my thing. I also have read a few issues ahead of where we are in this Vision run, which I've already read before. But last week, so what's today's date of recording?
December 3rd, I think.
3rd, yeah. So last week was Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and all that, and my job required me to work a lot of extra hours, so I was pretty beat at the end of every day and didn't read as much as I normally would have. But so a relatively light reading week for me. But related to comic book things, I've discovered that I have a few I don't know, I guess this is all just subjective to what you find valuable. But I found some semi-valuable comic books in my collection. One of them actually has right here. We'll put this up on the screen. So I was just like standing here the other day and I picked this up and looked at it and I was like, I don't know where this came from. I truly don't. I'm like,
did you steal it?
It's very possible that I stole this. Actually, I think somebody picked this up at a garage sale for me and just gave it to me because they're like, Alex likes comics. I'm going to get this. So I looked it up. I'll put this on here and then I'll let Drew do it. This is the Amazing Spider-Man #182. I think I looked it up. Can you confirm what year this came out? 182. I think it's 79 might have been when it came out.
Does it not say it on the cover?
I don't know. Haven't looked. But
it says 78.
78. Oh, okay.
That could also be when. Well, no, there hadn't been 182.
Well, that's it right there. So
yeah,
it's 78 or 79.
Where's the glare?
78.
Okay, Tori confirmed. Cool. So that's it. And I looked it up and I was like, I don't remember buying this. Wonder where I got it. And then I looked up, I was like, well, it's kind of, at this point, an older comic. Maybe it's worth something. And I looked it up, and so the grading system for comic books is very similar to like other things you get graded, like trading cards or, other collectible memorabilia. And there's either a PSA or I think it's the CGA, the Comics Guild of America or something like that. But if you have a CGA 9.8, which is very, very, very rare that anybody has a legitimate 10, like it's this perfectly printed, even if it's brand new, like if you pull it off the press and just hold it and have it graded, it's rare that it'll be a 10 for a variety of reasons. But still, a 9.8 is worth like close to $150, which is probably one of my more valuable comic books. So I was like, sweet. I've got this awesome comic book. Now this, you might have been able to see, is not perfect. Like they get real picky when they're looking at comic books. Like, what does the edging look like? How much of the color's faded? Just creases, bends, nicks, tears. That all, deducts your score. But it's definitely not terrible. I would guess that this is probably worth like $40 or $50. But still, for a comic, not bad. And then I was like, well, I wonder what other comics do I have that might be worth something? And then I thought, this Vision series is, going to take off pretty well. I'm actually going to pull this up while I'm looking here. Typically when a show's coming out about like one of the more popular comic book characters from the MCU or anything in general, when there's just about to be some hype, there will be like value increases for like the number ones, especially stuff where there's like source material. So I looked up Vision #1. Let me look up the price right here. Value. And it was pretty good. I don't want to misspeak. Here's go collect. Come on. Okay, so a 9.8 of this comic that we're reading right now, which I have 2 copies of this. I actually have 3, but just the regular cover, #1 is $120 if you have a 9.8.
Nice.
Which is, there have been 25 sales of it at that price recently. So it stands to think that it will go up.
Is that just Marvel or is that everything?
I think it's everything.
Can you look up a really important title for me?
Yes, after I do my segue into this. Value. So I also have the hip-hop variant of this issue, which I think we mentioned in the last episode. They did a series where they were taking iconic hip-hop albums and fusing them with the characters of that cover. So I went ahead and bought the Wiz Khalifa Rolling Papers variant for Vision #1. And I have that, I don't think I've ever read that. It's still in the sleeves and the cardboard, and it's in this case right now. I think it's called the Del Rey Hip Hop variant. Where is it? Come on. Well, now it's not showing it. I found it the other day. You'll just have to take my word for it. It said like $250 for a 9.8. So
nice.
Pretty cool to just see hey, this thing I bought for a few bucks, or this one that I don't know if I bought it at all. Just giving me is worth some coin.
Get ready to be really jealous.
Yeah.
Will you look up Biker Mice from Mars #1?
Biker Mice from Mars.
Yeah. I've got 1, 2, and 3.
From Mars. What is that about?
It's about a bunch of mice.
Self-explanatory.
Yeah. Mice from Mars who ride motorcycles.
Let me see. Hold on. That's not what I was clicking on. Values.
Numbers don't go as high. He's having a hard time figuring out the math.
That's what it is. At a 9.8, #1, Biker Mice from Mars, it is worth $70.
What, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like 4.
No, 9. I mean, if you have a 9.8,
oh, I do not. I mean,
it's a best case scenario.
I read this. It came off of the spinner rack at Price Cutter when I was a kid. It's decent, It's probably good to fair. By the time you get down
to a 9, it's $22.
Okay, so mine is probably $4. Worth $4, yeah.
Let's see where $4 is. Probably not. It's a 1.8 for $4. But what would you guess on a scale of 1 to 10, erring on the side of worse?
6, 7.
So a 7's $16.
Okay.
Yeah. A 6 is 12.
I think the joy that I have for telling the story of the fact that I knew it was going to be huge, so I bought issues 1, 2, and 3 when they came out, are worth more to me than $16. Just being able to tell the story.
When did they come out?
It would have been the 90s, I think.
Okay. Well, I mean, it is sold for $70 at a 9.8 twice, according to Go Collect.
I think the thing, it was a cartoon that they then printed up comic books after the fact, and I thought it was the other way around. But
cool.
Anyway, yeah.
I need to go through my entire collection. I don't have...
What's the website that you're on right now?
Go Collect.
Okay.
I literally Googled, though.
Okay.
Vision #1 value, and it was one of the first links, but that's where I've been going.
What about Death of Superman? The one in the black laminate, the black plastic bag.
Death of Superman.
Fascinating issue, I'm sure. Or episode, I'm sorry, everybody. I I can't remember what it would have been.
Was it this one right here?
No. That's the Tales from the...
One from 92, right?
Yeah.
$42 at a 9.8.
Mine looks different than that.
You have a variant?
Yeah.
I guess we have to figure out which variant it is. Well, there's one right there selling for $270.
Mine has like a gray cover.
Okay, well, here's one right here. It also has like links to eBay.
Okay.
Here's a 9.9 of Death of Superman, which is about, I don't know what person saw this 9.9 and was like, that's not a 10. What did they find? I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's for $1,500.
Mine is nowhere near that. But mine was the one that came in the black, like the black plastic thing with a bleeding S shield on it.
Oh, okay.
And it had like a poster that I was an idiot and I hung up on my wall. And
poster's probably worth something.
Yeah, it's probably gone now. Okay. And like an armband, a black armband.
You sweat all over it?
No, I never wore that, but I've seen some of those pop up, and I've almost bid on them so that I could have them in my collection sealed, but I never did.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is one thing to have the value of the comics, which I have. I don't know if I'd ever sell them, and then also you got to find somebody that's like, that comic's worth $250 for me to buy.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll go up. Maybe Vision or WandaVision will be such a smash hit that they'll be like just a huge surge in demand.
Have it.
And then I can pay for Sony A7S III.
Yep.
That's all for me, though. Not a ton of reading, looking up some of my collection and seeing the value, but finally I can read some more. What about you, Tor? You been reading anything?
Yeah, have either of y'all read Ready Player One?
Yeah.
I have not.
I'm reading Ready Player 2 right now.
Nice.
Did that just come out?
Yeah.
So, same author.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ernest Cline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How old is Ready Player One?
It's not long. Less than a decade, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought that it was a way older book, and then the movie was adapted for more.
I remember having a discussion with C.J. Morris, band director, because I saw him. He was at I think the U of A Day of Percussion thing, and he was carrying that book around, and I just saw the orange back of it, and I was like, "Is that Ready Player One?" He was like, "Yeah, I love it," and we talked about it for a minute, and that was 4 or 5 years ago.
So you like Ready Player One?
Yeah, I really did.
Okay.
The only reason I haven't bought Ready Player 2 is because I just haven't.
I got it with my Audible subscription.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool.
So it's read by Wil Wheaton.
Will Wheaton, yeah.
Wil Wheaton.
I love how he's mentioned, he is a character as himself in the first movie or the first book, and then he did the audiobook. That's hilarious.
It's good. I don't want to yuck anyone's yums. I enjoyed it.
Wait, what?
I like that expression.
I don't want to yuck anyone's yums.
Yeah.
Okay, now that I say it, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Syntactically. Okay, sorry.
It is not the greatest book, but it's very fun.
Okay.
And the sequel, I feel like Ernest Cline learned a lot of learned from his mistakes from the first one, and is rectifying that.
Oh, cool.
Still, it's just nostalgia porn, but
Right? Just something that hits you hard. The first one, anywhere close to the movie? Or
yes, and
liberties
no.
taken quite a bit.
Essentially the same storyline, but they cut a whole lot out.
yeah. There's so many IPs that are involved that it's probably hard. Of course, I forget who is it, Miramax, or
I can't remember who did it.
I forget what studio had it, but they had a lot of the properties that were mentioned in the book already, so they're able to represent them.
I mean, I just remember this was before I got into D&D, but D&D was a pretty heavy element of that first book.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even mentioned, if I remember correctly, in the movie.
Right.
So I mean, just something like that.
Right.
And they just they just reflavored another layer of the quest,
Right.
But I remember feeling like I enjoyed the book more than the movie, but I still enjoyed the movie.
Usually the case, I suppose. Yeah. Anything else reading wise?
No.
Nope.
I have one more thing to talk about before we dump into the comics. I just said dump into the comics, which I'll allow it.
Yeah.
You'll remember recently that we talked about how Wonder Woman was coming to HBO Max on Christmas Day.
Oh, yes.
Which is the same day that it is actually releasing in theaters that are still allowing for the movie lovers to go out and do if they feel like braving it. But I was kind of like on the fence. I was like, man, I really miss going. That's probably the thing I miss the most about, normal life before the pandemic. But I was probably leaning towards watching it at home, but I was bummed because it was on HBO Max, and HBO Max still does not offer 4K streaming on any of their media at all. Like none of it. Even if it's available, like if you could buy it in 4K on Apple Movies or TV or Prime or whatever, it's just not available for streaming there for whatever reason. Patty Jenkins, director of Wonder Woman 1 and 2, got on Twitter and announced that Wonder Woman will be the first 4K film in all of the 4K variants and HDR variants, Dolby Vision, HDR10 Plus, and Dolby Atmos, and all that good cinema nerd stuff to be on HBO Max. And I want to take credit. I feel like she heard me complaining about it.
Yeah.
And I'm super hyped. Now I for sure will. I don't feel like I need to go to the theater anymore. At least not as much. Like I still want to because big movie screen good.
Yeah. Big movie screen good.
Yeah.
Why use many words when few do the trick?
Right. Yeah. So I'm excited to see it, but as you know, I mentioned we got this awesome TV this year, and it really is awesome. And I always want to see the best. You can have an awesome TV, but if the stuff you're watching wasn't designed or isn't being played in the quality that the TV is designed to peak at, there's only so much that those processors can do to upscale that content to make it fit all those pixels. So super hyped that it's going to be in 4K, and it's going to be a good day to watch some Wonder Woman 84.
I think I've talked about it on here, but I saw the first Wonder Woman in this creepy little movie theater in Bangor, Maine. Yeah. After taking a trip to go check out Stephen King's house.
Nice.
So part of me feels like I owe it to myself to drive back up to Maine to see it again.
During a pandemic.
Yeah, but
and the holidays.
That might not be the best thing to do.
Yeah, that'd be a tall order.
Maybe I'll just settle for watching it on your
you can watch it over here.
4K
on a
TV.
watch party. Be cool. Anyway, that's all I got. You guys want to...
I think there's one more thing we should say before we take a quick break and then dive into Vision number 2, and that is we've got a few more episodes. By the time you hear this, we have already recorded.
It's next week.
We may not have recorded the mailbag episode.
Because that's 50, so it's possible.
So anyway, I was going to say...
Can't hurt to ask.
Yeah. If you got questions, comments, whatever for us, send them to us. Leave them in a comment on the video. We'll check all of our videos or whatever beforehand. If you have questions, comments, or anything, we want to answer them on our episode 50 mailbag. And so you can reach us on Twitter at 2Man Comic Book, number 2. Instagram, Facebook, 2Man Comic Book Club, also with the number 2. Shoot us an email, 2mancomicbookclub@gmail.com. Or like we said, leave a comment on any of our YouTube videos.
Yeah, or also if you want to submit like audio or even video, I'll throw a video on there of you doing there for the YouTube, just of the question. We have, I think, a handful of people that are going to do audio questions. So we have a few. We would love even more. Ask us some questions. We're just going to do like a fun kind of celebration of hitting 50 episodes. It's going to be pretty cool. And that'll be after our Christmas
Christmas
episode,
special,
which we're going to be doing a sweet giveaway for.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that.
We probably should have already talked about this, but I'm going to ask it here because they can see into my brain. Do we want to just save it and like give all the information about entering for the giveaway on that episode, or will it be in a little blurb that we'll just toss in from time to time between now and then?
I think it'd be good to give away on, because we'll have to fill out that episode with some stuff, so we can talk about
so it may be like presenting it whether or not we actually draw it that day.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you have a potential to get some stuff from us to you in the spirit of the season or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Drew and I bought some cool goodies for you guys that are in the mail right now.
Yep.
That will be entered. It's not just one giveaway.
Yeah.
There are more than one.
The more the merrier.
Cool. Well, I say we take a quick break and then jump into Vision number 2. We'll be right back. All right. Jumping in to issue 2 of The Vision by Tom King. Gabriel Hernandez Walta was the artist. and Jordie Bellaire was the colorist. And I guess we'll say VC's Clayton Cowles did the letters because that's a pretty important, especially I feel like the letters and a lot of the placement in the boxes. I mean, there's obviously like some extra dialogue going on and some narration in a very unique and creative way. So super important. The cover artist for this was Michael Del Mundo for this one, which is pretty cool. Drew pointed out a cool little, I don't think he called it Easter egg. Just I didn't notice it last time. The what do they call that? The
flag.
The flag on your mailbox. Yeah. It has like a little mail icon with some actual notifications on it.
Like an app.
That would actually.
At first I was like, man, that'd be really handy. But then I remember you only put the flag up whenever you're actually mailing something.
I still wish on the back of my mailbox it had big numbers of how many items were in my mailbox.
I would be okay with just a big marking that's like, all right, the mail has come.
Yeah, or there's something in here.
Yeah, my neighbors, I think either they do the most, like they have so many pen pals, or they just struck a deal with the mail guy to where they leave that flag up every morning. So it's really handy. I look out, and when the flag has gone down, I know that the mail's run, so I can go and check. But yeah.
Every morning?
I would say 90% of the mornings.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a lot of mailing.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some sort of illegal operation.
Wouldn't put it past them.
That's fine. Cool. So if we recap the last issue, if for some reason, I always think this is probably not the case, but maybe somebody just like hopped on, like, here's the newest episode. This is where I'm starting. If you haven't listened to that episode, you should, because you're going to be missing out on a lot of stuff.
I was checking the analytics, and more people have listened to the second episode of the Superman Secret Identity than listened to the first one. So you never know.
Weird.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be so lost. Like, you jump into all this stuff that's just happening already. So, end of issue 1, we left our Vision family, the Visions, and the Grim Reaper had attacked while Vision was away. He stabbed through Viv, the daughter, and she was glitching out, just constantly going, mother, 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 just over and over and over. And he started to attack Vin, the son, and Virginia, the mother, took the cookie sheet that the neighbors had left as a welcoming gift and was defending her family, rightfully so, but then got, I don't know if you'd even call it carried away. If somebody stabbed your daughter, I'd probably kill them too. Mm-hmm. But she killed him with a cookie pan. And it ends with her telling her kids, don't tell your father. And that's the last thing we see. And you kind of are seeing as the comic progressed that they're trying to live the most normal human life as possible. So it's understandable, I guess, that you have the thought like, dang it, I messed up. Don't tell your Avenger father that I just killed a man with a cookie sheet in our living room.
If the way that they've absorbed what is normal is from TV, then that would seem like it'd be totally normal.
Yeah.
Because what would a family drama be without secrets?
Right.
So,
and it's cool that you mentioned it being on TV, because I do think that we're going to see, not like necessarily somebody get killed with a cookie pan, but the more I read of this or reread of this comic series, the more I think for sure they're going to use some of this as source material, or have already used it because the filming's already been done for WandaVision. So very excited to see how they move forward with this. But anyway, we pick up, and the first page we see Vin standing in the middle of his high school hall. Looks like kids are on their way to classroom, and there's just 3 panels. The first one, he's just standing there. It's a pretty wide and far back shot, but you can tell he's just kind of like solemn, sad a little bit. Then he puts his hand over his face and he starts to sink into the ground, and then he's gone. So he just dropped out of nowhere. And then the very next panel, full spread, Viv, the daughter who was attacked and cut in half, has all this machine on her. She's still glitching out, saying mother over and over. And like the lower 2/3 of her body are missing. She's hooked up to all the machines. She's not in a good spot right now. So I kind of did wonder, like, my main question after finishing issue 1 was like, how do they explain to Vision what the heck just happened? Mm-hmm. And lucky for us, that's basically where we start this comic. Drew, you want to walk us through some of this?
Yeah, they're just sitting there. This is Vision and Virginia.
Yes.
about to,
This is not
have the
near
talk.
Viv. They're in their living room, so
in the
Viv's
living room.
somewhere else.
And it says, we got that same Douglas Adams type narration box. This is the story she told. And it might be easiest just to kind of go.
Yeah, I'm fine with you reading
that.
through some of this.
So we're seeing like kind of a retelling visually of what happens, but things are going to be different than what actually happened if you listened. So it says the Grim Reaper arrived at 7:13 in the afternoon. After cutting into Viv, our daughter, actually I was wrong. It's not Douglas Adams.
Yeah, this is
narration.
actually Virginia explaining.
Anyway, he began to talk about the status of us as potential members of his family. This was the Grim Reaper, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a funny part to me. This was undoubtedly in reference to Ultron's use of the brainwaves of the Reaper's brother, Wonder Man, in your creation. And then Vision butts in and says, yes, undoubtedly.
Yeah, very matter of fact.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you remember, Wonder Man was Grim Reaper's brother. Wonder Man's brainwaves were used to make Vision have his personality that he has. Grim Reaper does not like that. Feels like it was this bastardized use of his brother's soul and personality. That's why he attacked.
Yeah. And instead of reading the rest of this, I'm just going to that's kind of the way that she's running down, just giving you the blow by blow.
Mm-hmm.
But she goes on to basically say, so he starts attacking, but then I remembered the teaching that you gave us, and
combat training.
Yeah, combat training. When it felt appropriate, I made myself more dense and more powerful so that I could have more strength for punching and stuff. And whenever he would go to slice me with his blade, I went out of phase. Mm-hmm. That's the word for that? Incorporeal?
Something like that, yeah. She basically made it to
intangible.
It phased through her so she couldn't be touched.
When she says that, he makes a comment. He's like, it tickles or it buzzes.
It buzzes, yeah.
And you can tell she's like, what? And then luckily he goes through and explains, yeah, I've noticed when you get hit with that thing, it buzzes a little bit. And she was like, oh, yeah, totally. Trying to cover her tracks.
Yeah, and then he apologizes. He's like, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. But
he just couldn't help it.
If he hadn't, she might have stepped in it and had to come clean. But then she says, I was going to use my laser, but I didn't know if I felt very comfortable. I didn't want to do anything. But she ends up telling him that she wraps the whole thing up because she does feel the confidence enough to use the laser and basically shoots over his head a warning shot and just obliterates the kitchen. And she says, Grim Reaper saw this and saw the damage that the blast did and conceivably what more damage could be done. And he decided to give up. Right?
Right.
And
he fled. That's what she says.
Okay. Yeah. And he fled and
she basically apologizes. She's like, I should have pursued him, but I
was worried about my kids.
Necessary to check on the children. And I think I'm going to cut in here. I think this is. I read this one twice just to like kind of think about like the goal overall. Like, it's interesting to view this comic, especially through the lens of they're trying to be as humane as possible.
Yeah.
They're not trying to be synthezoids or robots or just machines. But the fact that she says she makes an argument for being more humane as a reason why she didn't do that, which you think would play well for Vision, like his wish for his family, trying to act like a normal suburb cookie cutter family. Mm-hmm. And she says, Vin's entire system was continuously rebooting. He shook with every revolution. I held him, tried to show him that my body was not experiencing the same problem. This appeared to counteract some of the effects, which is...
Feels like a total synthezoid solution.
Yeah, but also what they would think would be, like, I'm sure everybody has a story of their mom comforting them for something, showing you, no, it's okay. I'm fine. Look, we're fine. We're good. Mm-hmm. It's that, but it's the most cookie cutter 010101 way to explain something like that. So I just thought they're trying, but you get this sense that it's just maybe in some ways not a realistic goal that they could ever possibly achieve. Just the nuance of being a human. Mm-hmm. Oh no.
But yeah, they just kind of, it shows them kind of consoling each other on the couch, talking about how the different sounds of the neighborhood were happening, and they used to find them appealing or at least enjoyable, and that's kind of faded. And then we jump over to the school where we have a pretty intense scene with Vin. Mm-hmm. He's just eating lunch, or he's like, actually it goes as far as saying he doesn't actually need to eat. Normally him and Viv are reading and talking about stuff, and they're like, recently he finished Vin, or does it say Vin or Viv?
They both did. I
Okay.
think they
Finished
took out the entire section of human anatomy.
Yeah. And some dude comes up and he's like, hey, where's your sister? I need to talk to her. She's my lab partner. Can I have her phone number? And, Vin is just like, she is out. She is sick.
Yeah.
And he just keeps repeating that, and this dude keeps pushing.
Yeah. To be fair, Vin is being very just like,
Yeah.
she is out. She is ill. And he's asking questions that would normally award a more definitive answer than just she's out, she is ill, because he's like waiting for her to like finish a project you kind of pick up or something like that. But he does keep pushing in a way that gets a little out of hand.
Yeah. And I guess a synthezoid's response to this is to confront him. And they talk about how Vin and Viv were having an argument about the differences between humans and synthezoids. And they say that one of the things that they discovered is like if you were to restrict the blood flow from the carotid artery or something like that, it essentially makes a person black out. If you were to continue putting pressure on that, the brain would start to die. But as it's giving you this like very analytical view, Vin has that guy by the throat up in the air, and you see his face slowly go more and more gray until he finally just chokes him out and he blacks out and he drops into the ground. He's like, she is out. She is ill, and just disappears.
Yeah, I'd like this
crazy.
page when he does that. Drew did a good job of summarizing like the carotid artery stuff, especially. But when he's sitting there, you got to think like his sister was just attacked and like cut in half, and basically they don't know at this point that she's going to be able to come back. I don't think, and we get into more of that in a minute. But this kid is being a jerk, and he's just like, dude, what's wrong with you? I'm asking for her number. She has a phone, doesn't she? Don't you people have phones? And then I'm not going to say it, but I'll surmise what he says. He says, or should I just send my message directly into your metal beeholes? Except he doesn't say beeholes. And then Vin's just sitting there staring. He's had this blank expression this entire time. And then the kid's like, man, what's your problem? Can't you hear me? And then Vin looks over real quick, says no. And then he does the thing, and he says, you should not send your message directly into our metal. He just takes it so matter of fact almost, but it turned into this pretty extreme moment. And then as you saw what progressed.
Based off of what they were saying, I kept sitting there like, wait, did he just kill him or did he just knock him out? Because it wasn't really made clear. The following scene kind of clears it up in the sense that like the way that things unfold make me think maybe he's not dead, but it's still not
same
good.
Thought just because,
otherwise he would have totally been put in jail.
Oh yeah. Well, the only reason I thought, okay, he just passed out is because they get a little like fainted speech bubble. It's like, at the end of the kid whenever he.
I guess I didn't look close enough for that.
But that's the only other thing. It could have easily been death. He could have killed him if he wanted to. But then we find ourselves in the principal's office with Vision and Virginia. Obviously, would have been called in the principal's office for this. And the principal's making this argument like, do you understand like what I would do to a kid who brings a gun to my school? And then he starts making comparisons that basically arguing your kids are weapons, they're guns, and one of them just attacked my school. And then he's talking to them in a very at them way and not to them. He refers to Mrs. Vision instead of actually Virginia, not Mrs. Vision, just they're trying to have an identity and be normal. And he's talking about them as they are objects. And it starts to get heated a little bit. And I'm going to read some of this page here. I'll throw this up on the screen. The principal's like, I get that this superintendent has a crush on Captain America and will do anything that man says.
And that would be, just for the sake of continuity, this is not Steve Rogers, right? We decided that this was, because when it showed Captain America, it was Sam Wilson.
This would be Sam Wilson, Captain America.
Just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. So he's like, I get that our superintendent has a crush on Captain America and will do anything that man says, but that doesn't mean this thing's presence in my school is settled. And Vision stands up.
Can you imagine being a parent and the principal talks about your kid like this thing?
Yeah.
Like calls your kid a thing.
Yeah. Vision has pretty good composure here. So he stands up and he's like, well, I see our conversation appears to be unproductive use for both of our time. And he says, let us just say that my son will take the standard suspension of a child involved in a conflagration. I don't even know what that word means of this sort.
Fire.
What is it?
Conflagration means fire.
Oh, okay. Cool. Further discipline will be handled by myself and his mother. The principal stands up. He's got like his hands firm. And he says, that's not your decision to make. And then Vision, like...
He's about to drop it.
He puts on his Avenger. He drops the Avengers card.
Yeah.
And says, I am Vision of the Avengers. I have saved this planet 37 times. Each day you live, each breath you take, each beat of your heart, each is due to my actions 37 times over.
And at this point, I'm sitting there like, God, I am like 100% Team Vision. And then the narrations continue, and I start questioning myself.
Right. So I'm going to finish Vision says, and then I'll do those
narrations. Okay, yeah, I guess I'm ahead.
That's fine. He says, you are quite correct. It is not my decision to make. It is merely my considered opinion that this is a proper course of action. But I do believe you will recognize that fighting me in this matter will not in the end prove to be beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks, the principal, very defeated at this point. Like he's kind of looking down, pursed lips, almost like he's in trouble or was scolded. And then you see, as Drew said, I'll let you read this. This is good.
More of the Douglas Adams narration type thing, which gives you a view into the things that aren't exactly on the surface.
And Vision and Virginia have left the room at this point.
And it says, Principal Sam Waxman of Alexander Hamilton High School will remember this moment for the rest of his life. He will wonder what would have happened if he had been firmer with the Visions that day, if he had not retreated from his initial position. Would that have made a difference? If he had acted right then, right at the beginning, which makes me wonder what, the beginning of what?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he too could have saved the world. And I'm just like, oh, geez, okay.
And during this, he's kind of pulling out a drink. He's got a little whiskey flask and a cup or some.
Every time I see, having worked in a public school for a decade, anytime I see people pulling out booze at a school, I'm like, do people actually do that? That is ridiculous because I can't imagine anybody. I mean, I know that plenty of teachers would want to and would, if they could get away with it, they would happily have something with them. But like, he's the principal.
I gotta think there's some doing it. I have to.
Oh, there have to be.
Yeah.
And maybe he confiscated it from somebody and he just hadn't disposed of it yet. And he was like, well, if there's ever a time, it's now.
Right. The Vision essentially just explained that he was responsible for my life and well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty passive aggressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a super. I do appreciate these narrations over the top of everything.
I have a feeling if it weren't for the narrations, sorry, I had a weird bubble in my throat. Made me sound funny. If it weren't for these narrations, my appreciation for this line of books would have been totally different.
Oh yeah, it absolutely changes the dynamic of how they read for sure. The next page, we get this full spread, and I love this. This is one of my favorite panels I've seen so far. I've gone enough to where I saw it and I looked at it for a while. I was like, I might get a tattoo of this in some way or form one day. I would.
If you want Alex to get a tattoo for this, tweet at us.
Please do.
Maybe we'll turn it into a competition.
So I have a family that is pretty inked up. My side of the family specifically. My mom has tattoos. My stepdad, both my brothers, their significant others, like aunts and uncles. And I have these big holes in my ears, and I used to have my lip pierced, but I've never had a tattoo. And I want to be all tatted up. One day I will be. Like, I'm going to have like a sleeve, but my goal is to have a bunch of just my favorite comic panels just all over my arms and stuff. Like, just, this was a cool moment. I want to see this, So this is one of them. And this strikes a very cool, I don't even know the word I'm trying to think of. Just the picture this paints in a moment like that is Vision and Virginia are flying home. They're flying. They're over the clouds. You see these neighborhoods above. And Virginia just says, I love you. And Vision says, I love you too. And that is such a human thing, a human moment, that despite all of the just the grandiose nature of Vision's life as an Avenger and saving the Earth and just everything they've gone through so far and their attempt to have some normalcy, that page hit really hard for me. Is like, okay, right there was a glimpse of it. There was some normalcy, Yeah. So just a good moment to me. And then we find ourselves at home. And Vision basically finds out that Viv's diagnostic finally is complete, and like the data's there, and he believes that full repairs are possible, is what he says. So they have
a cool, very computerish discussion of the differences between certainty and belief, also, which was interesting. Worth checking out if you pick this book up.
Yeah, for sure. And after they kind of discuss that, they throw Luck in there as well as like this thing, and she wishes him good luck basically, and he says, "Thank you, wife," and flies off. And then the next page, she goes to check the mail on that really sweet mailbox. I don't know if we talked about it. It is a really cool mailbox. It also hovers, like in their yard, which I need to get me one of those.
I want to see what happens whenever a local hooligan's taking a baseball bat to it. Like, does it go and then just come back?
Maybe it has a laser and shoots back.
I have to imagine it's not just like aluminum or whatever it is,
Probably. Metal. I mean, they do have a Steinway made out of Wakandan vibranium.
Yeah. So I wonder, like, I have to imagine that the thing does move.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, though, can you imagine just...
It's an immovable object that you just get jarred. Yeah, so she walks over to check the mail, and it says, this is more narration. For the first time since the Grim Reaper entered her house, Virginia felt joy. Yes, she still faced a number of unusual stresses, but somehow, at that moment, each of those problems seemed to be so small, so tiny. And this time, she's kind of pulling out this package. She opens up, and there's a smartphone in this box.
Looks like a Samsung Galaxy S3.
It does. Maybe I'll put one of those up on the page right here. Then more narration says, all of them together seem to easily fit in the palm of her hand. And then on this phone, there's a sticky note that says, code 6161, go to videos, press play. So she goes down and opens it up and unlocks it in the video. Before she presses play, just the splash screen, the thumbnail shows her standing in a yard with a shovel in her hands. And it says all she needed to do was to make a fist, and they'd all crumble to dust. And then we see she pushes play, and it's video recording of her burying the Grim Reaper in her backyard. And we just get this text from her saying, no, no.
And then her son comes up. He was watching the whole thing, and then they hug.
Yep. And she drops the phone, and a number starts calling, unidentified.
So apparently either they've got really good timing or they had a notification or they're sitting there and watching.
Yeah.
And they called at that exact moment.
And the comic ends.
Yep.
So lots going on here.
Mm-hmm.
We have the obvious drama from issue 1 that has still not been dealt with at all because they had to put that on hold just because their kid attacked, well, I guess it's technically attacked another kid, even if he was being taunted.
Yeah.
And definitely could probably destroy that school if he wants to. So dealing with that, and as soon as she gets a moment of normalcy, just a moment to breathe, it seems like she's got love for her husband, and they have a nice lighthearted talk about luck and belief, and they even get some good news that Viv is going to be able to be fully repaired. As soon as that happens, she gets his phone and realizes that she didn't quite cover her tracks like she needed to. And then end of issue. So, what'd you think of that one?
Yeah, I don't know. I expected, honestly, a little bit more action, like immediate unfolding.
Right.
But, it's
making
a slow burn.
Yeah. Which I think pays off in the long run for sure. Like when you have
I've only read one more, so I don't know yet.
Okay, yeah. I really like this. Again, it's... Maybe I'm trying to think of what is the X factor in this series, and maybe you guys have put your thumb on it more than I have. But just the narration adds a definite extra level to things. It's just it's almost real time insight. It's all real time director's commentary or something like that. Even though it's not necessarily presented that way, but we're getting a lot of very pertinent backstory information and just context without having to. I mean, I do like being able to kind of put my own interpretation on sorts of things, but I also, if the writer has some ideas, I want to hear those things too. I don't mind having my hand held sometimes, I guess. Tori, what did you think of this one? I thought it was pretty good.
It was good. I was glad that we were doing where we have the entire run available to us, so I could.
Oh yeah, so you can jump ahead.
Yeah.
How far ahead are you?
I'm not very. I've only read one more.
Okay, cool. I think I'm going to read some more of those very soon. Yeah, it's just good. It's definitely not like a issue 2. We've settled everything from issue 1, which I like. It also shows that. Well, I don't know if it shows this. There's got to be some, like, not every comic run is guaranteed to just keep going and going and going. Or like you may have a 12-issue run plan, and they're like, this isn't selling, man. You gotta wrap this up at 6. And having an issue like this kind of shows you that they have the confidence that they were onto something, that they could maybe play slow ball and really tell a story. Take their time and do it right. But any other thoughts on that?
If we're doing it right, everybody should be dancing.
If you know what that's from, tweet at us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got on that one. It's a good one. It's in passing. I feel like we covered it. I'll just say this again every episode because I know people need to do it. These deserve to be read. They're comic books. It's no argument. They're a visual first medium. Like they are absolutely would not be the same without the visuals. The art and the colors in this are so good.
I like it a lot.
Very.
I like it a lot.
Kind of a muted pastel color kind of thing going on, but just it
and raw.
Yeah, I've learned that I like the rawness of sketch lines a lot. Like I don't need everything to have a ruler and a protractor out to give me just the most robotic perfect. Like there is some rawness, and I also. I mean, we want to talk about this phone here, how natural and normal it looks in the context of everything.
It matches.
It matches
the world it's in.
Right, and we're in a world full of synthezoids. They could have made the argument, well, let's just scan in a Galaxy Ultra, whatever, for the time. This is a good one. Lots of humanity introduced into the characters, showing them. That's a plot that's kind of overarching so far. They're dealing with all this other stuff, trying to just, exist, but also trying to do it in the most human, normal way possible. And I think it's cool. So anyway, if you guys don't have anything else, we'll take a quick break and we'll come back to some 2-man trivia. See you in a minute.
Yep. And we're back with our lightning round trivia round. Lightning round trivia round, where the questions are faster than the principal, what's-his-face, turned the bottle after his meeting with the visions.
I mean, I have to say that if I were the type to bring a bottle as a principal to a school, that would be the time. If you were just like, just in case, I'm probably never going to use this, but I don't know if Vision was threatening him, but he was definitely like playing a card to get his way, I think. Like,
I have spoken.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, very good. Yeah. I have spoken. It was a good moment for that. Cool.
So we're tied?
No points apiece?
No points and no points.
Yeah. So round...
No Tory points?
Round 2.
Nope.
I don't think anybody scored anything.
Yeah,
we just,
that's right.
Because we did so good the one before that and then
that's right.
wet the bed the next time.
I already forgot what my question was last time anyway.
It was a villain. It was an Annihilation.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, the insectoid. Boy. You want to go first?
Sure.
Hit me.
All right. I just found this on the Wikipedia, so it's not necessarily a great question, but it jumped out to me based off of some of the names of some villains from things I have been experiencing lately, speaking in vagaries. All right. The villain Proctor. Do you know who Proctor is? That's not the question. Do you know who this is?
Who is the villain Proctor? I know the name.
Okay. Anyway, the villain Proctor came from an alternate timeline, and he brought a version of Vision with him to fight. Do you know what they called that version?
Was he coming from another universe?
Another timeline.
Another timeline? Okay.
So I think essentially yes.
The new Vision.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
No.
Dang it.
Do you want to take a guess just for funsies?
The new Vision.
Also wrong.
What if he got his right? I was like, what?
No, this popped into my mind because of the monitor and the anti-monitor of
is it
Crisis on Infinite Earths. Yes, it's anti-vision.
Dang it. I feel like if I had thought about it for a little bit, I could have maybe.
That was it.
Cool.
It's just, I don't know what the deal was, but the name jumped out to me.
I'm all for a alternate vision. Cool. My question has to do with the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper, as we know, is Wonder Man's brother, and he's the one that Virginia killed in this. He is a supervillain. Always been a villain associated with the Vision, just because he hates him for even if it wasn't necessarily the Vision's fault. I don't think that the Vision actually partook in the exchange of Wonder Man's brain waves or brain patterns, as I always refer to it, but that rubbed him the wrong way. Anyway, he has several abilities, the main which being he has a special techno scythe that can kind of spin at like rapid speed and do some other things. So there are two parts to this question. I'll give you a point if you get either one of them. One, can you tell me one other thing that his techno scythe can do when it's just normal? And then there was a time where he became a zombie and his techno scythe could do something else. Can you tell me what changed when he was a zombie? So basically it's just like, can you guess a power that specifically his techno scythe has, either when he was a zombie or when he's like the more modern interpretations of the character?
My first guess is actually for the zombie scythe.
Okay.
I'm wondering if somehow it gives him the ability to retain his brain somehow and like actually retain intelligence somehow because of its abilities.
That is incorrect. Your next, you can try for the other one as well. Like for a point for either one if you can get one. So this is non-zombie form. I'll tell you the answer to both.
Does it slice and dice and cut through boots and tin cans and then stay sharp when you cut through a tomato?
Probably inferred just that it was really sharp, but if you want to have an actual guess.
That was my actual guess. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so for the zombie form, it has the ability to absorb human life forces.
Okay.
So it takes human life. For the more recent versions, any of these would have worked. Drains energy, projects energy blasts, and has the ability to summon demons.
As one does.
Yeah. My scythe doesn't do any of those things.
No.
Just how I cut the yard. Cool.
0 to 0.
0 to 0. Now the Tory points, which are just trivia points now because we're not breaking them up into more obscurities until we go back to Doom.
This is, I'm pretty sure, one that you both are going to know, so it's going to be whoever gets it first.
Alex.
This is another round of Name That Supervillain.
Okay.
This supervillain was born Max Eisenhart.
Max Eisenhart.
Mm-hmm.
Alex. Wait, did you say supervillain?
Yes.
I retract my name. Supervillain, Max Eisenhart.
There's not a whole lot of other clues I can give about this character because I'll go ahead and say pretty well known.
Yeah.
I thought this would be
I have a guess that I think it is, but maybe I just don't know about this, but this is either going to be a correct answer or a really stupid one. It's like, what? No.
So it's like my answer.
Alex.
All right.
Magneto.
It is Magneto.
Really? It's not Eric Lensher?
That's why I thought.
Is that the
I think
movies?
That's the movies version
yeah.
of it. But
oh, okay.
Why would they change that?
I don't know.
Unless Max Eisenhart is a real person or somebody has that name.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it is Magneto.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to look into that. I mean, there have been cases where they just, from the movies, changed the name in the comics. The most recent one was in Infinity War with the Black Order. They change I forget which one, the big like brute one that fights Spider-Man and Iron Man in the middle or in the beginning of Infinity War. They changed his name to something completely different, and I don't know why. I can't remember exactly. Like they left Proxima Midnight the same. They left what's his name? The wizard. I don't know. They take liberties in the films that don't necessarily always reflect that of the comics.
They in the Hulk TV show, didn't they rename him from Bruce to David? Because, well, I know that they renamed him. He was no longer Bruce because they thought Bruce was too gay a name.
Wow, that's a bad reason to change the name.
That's a terrible reason.
Wait, the TV show, like back in the day,
back in the day, yeah.
I don't
Lou
know.
Ferrigno,
yeah,
stuff. Yeah,
I think it was David Banner is what they changed it to.
David Banner is a rapper.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or maybe he's like a rapper producer, but all his, I'll put it in right here if I think about it, a little snippet. All his tracks that he produced start with David Banner. And just like going there, and then like this beat drops or something. Cool. 1 point for moi. Huzzah! I only guessed Magneto because of, what was the last name?
Eisenhart.
Yeah, it's Jewish. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the concentration camps that he comes from. So
I had no idea.
What was your guess going to be?
Maximilian.
You had the first letter right.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
I don't know. I feel like I've heard
first two letters
Maximilian in some sort of comic book. Like that is a character somewhere. Might be DC. I don't know. It might be from DuckTales or something. There's no telling what it's actually from.
DuckTales, X-Men, same thing. Yeah. Where can they find you on social media, Drew?
At Drew at Drew Morris Comp on Twitter, Drew Morris Composer elsewhere, drewmorrismusic.com for my website. What about you, Alex?
You can find me on all social media platforms at Alex Wayne Miller. Wayne is Wayne, just like Bruce Wayne because I am Batman. Alex. Thanks for you even harmonized with me. Thank you for being ready. Tori, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter at Torrance Watkins, TORRANCEWATKINS, where you can find me liking things I think are funny.
I also spend too much time just going, like, retweet. That's funny. But anyway, if you want to reach out and leave a review on this podcast, most likely that's going to be on Apple Podcasts. I think that's where a bulk of our streams are coming from. But if there's another platform and you let us know that you left a review by some way, it's really hard to find. I still do not understand why other podcast platforms do not have a legitimate review system. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. But anyway, if you leave a review or leave a comment on the YouTube channel, which you should like and subscribe to, we'll read it on the episode that we discover it and give you a shout out. And we really appreciate if you just really word of mouth is one of the ways that we've spread our content the most. So share with a friend that you think even remotely likes comic books or likes the MCU or they enjoyed the Batman animated series. Anything, it all will fit in this compass. And we really think you'll like what we're putting out. So any closing thoughts, gentlemen?
Remember to reach out with your questions or anything for the mailbag episode, and keep your ears and eyes open for information on how to enter the Christmas giveaway.
Yeah, 2-man comic book Christmas coming soon to a podcast near you. That's been it. We'll see you guys next time. See you.